Hey everybody, I'm jumping in early today. Hope you guys are doing well on the morning AM Devo with Bowo. That's my name. And even before the clock went down to zero and I jumped in. So I was ready to go. Excited about getting in my devotion time. And that's what Devo stands for, is devotion. We're going to be in Mark chapter 12, part 1 this morning. So it is March 26th. And I've already gone through the Bible. Now I'm in another gospel, so in the book of Mark. And totally stoked. Hey, Craig, I'm stoked you might change your time to get back in that 8:30, 9 o'clock slot for the devotions. I know you're working. I've thought of you too. I thought maybe I should just change mine to 8 o'clock to let Craig get in there. Anyway, that would be great if you could change your time. But if not, let me know. Maybe I could change my time and do it at 8 a.m. And maybe everybody else is okay with that as well. So that might work out too, because I can do it probably at 8 in the morning and change my time. So we'll see. We could see. So Jesus has already ridden into Jerusalem. And he's being tested by all the leadership, kind of combed over, if you will. Kind of in fulfillment of the Passover lamb. We're coming up on the day of Passover. It's March 26th. We got a few weeks left. And what they would do is comb over those offerings. So those lambs that would be used for the offerings that would take place during the Jewish festival. And Jesus is bringing himself before the leadership. And they're asking questions to him. He's getting peppered, if you will, and we see his responses. It's really beautiful how Jesus responds to people. I wish that I think it's something that I would want to emulate in my life. If I could just react the way Jesus reacted to people, I think it would be way cool, you know. Instead, I tend to react in different ways. I let my emotions get in it. I feel like someone's, getting at me. I let my ego get the best of me. All these things like this, instead of really being able to act in a really humble, yet direct, honest, but yet not aggravated way. Not an aggravated way that would move me into further violence, And so I think it's pretty cool how Jesus does it. I'm sure you probably too, if you've read this before or read it at all, you probably go, man, Jesus does do things so cool. So in chapter 12, it says, then Jesus began to teach them with stories or parables. A man planted a vineyard. He built a wall around it, dug a pit for pressing out the grape juice, and built a lookout tower. Then he leased the vineyard to tenant farmers and moved to another country. And at the same time of the grape harvest, he sent one of his servants to collect his share of the crop. But the farmers grabbed the servant, beat him up, and sent him back empty-handed. The owner then sent another servant, but they insulted him and beat him over the head. The next servant he sent was killed. Others he sent were either beaten or killed, until there was only one left, his son, whom he loved dearly. The owner finally sent him, thinking, surely they will respect my son. But the tenant farmers said to one another, here comes the heir to the estate. Let's kill him and get the estate for ourselves. So they grabbed him and murdered him and threw his body out of the vineyard. What do you suppose the owner of the vineyard will do? Jesus asked. I tell you, he will come and kill those farmers and lease the vineyard to others. Didn't you ever read this in the scriptures? The stone that the builders rejected has now become the cornerstone. This is the Lord's doing, and it is wonderful to see. The religious leaders wanted to arrest Jesus because they realized he was telling the story against them. They were the wicked farmers, but they were afraid of the crowd, so they left him and went away. Wow. Wouldn't it be great if you could just say, hey, I'm going to tell you a story. And when you told that story, it brought that kind of conviction to people where they went, ooh, I think I get this, right? And they go away. Now, the reason they go away, of course, is because they are in places of power and they want to not upset their constituents. Have you heard that before? You know, they don't want to divide their audience. They're trying to get a following. So they're saying buzzwords and they're saying things and they're doing things to try to get people, especially those young, impressionable people that think they're doing something by being activists, but they're not doing anything. They're doing things probably wrong. But yet they just aren't thinking through things. They're not being very critical thinkers. They're a lot of times acting on emotion. And when you have religious people in power forcing this deity on you, if you don't do this, the deity's going to get you. If you don't do this, blah, 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 blah. If you don't, then they have this big power and they know what they're doing is wrong, but they want the power, the money, the reputation, all the things that come with it, right? And so you see them having to deal with Jesus's words, and they, instead of react to Jesus or talk to Jesus, they just want to bolt. Don't you love what Jesus says in the parable, though? Don't you just find this fascinating? You know, he says that the religious leaders are the ones that have killed all the ones that have led up to the chief cornerstone, or another name for the Messiah. Of course, the chief cornerstone is the main part, the main rock, the main structure that is holding the walls together and the building up. It's the cornerstone, the strong stone. And Jesus says, I am that cornerstone. And he says, I am the Son of God. He makes it very clear that he knows who he is. Jesus didn't walk around going, man, I wonder if I'm Jesus. I remember seeing The Last Temptation of Christ when I was young and teenager. And I remember thinking like, wow, that's really interesting. Now, I didn't know the Bible, so I thought it was kind of the gospel truth. Oh, I didn't know Jesus didn't know who he was. I didn't know Jesus doubted who he was. That I didn't know Jesus was reluctant. This kind of thing. That's not what we get in the Gospels. We get a Jesus who knows who he is. The Last Temptation of Christ movie got it wrong. Jesus actually knew who he was. He knew where he came from and where he was going. He makes this really clear. And in this parable, he calls himself, I am the Son. I'm the one who was sent to you. But before that, there were people that were sent. The Isaiahs, the Jeremiahs, all these people. And you ended up killing them. Now notice how Jesus talks to those leaders in Jerusalem. How he talks to those Levitical priesthood people. How he talks to those leaders that are part of the tribes of Israel. Jesus, as coming from the tribe of Judah, one of the tribes of Israel, has a lot to say about his fellow brethren and what they've done to the prophets. You've killed them. Jesus makes it very clear that Israel is on the hook for killing the prophets and Jesus. And I don't know how much more clear Jesus could be with this, right? This is what you've done. Sometimes it's hard for us to look at what we've done, in our life. And if it really becomes clear, if someone brings it to us and say, look at what you've done. Your decisions, your business decisions cost thousands, even millions of people their life. What do you think of that? Are you willing now to give up your position of power and give your money away? All the money that you received from that action, you're willing to give away. Is that how it works in our world? Where people, when the light is shown in our lives of our faults, do we not only admit to it, but do we make restitution? I'm not only wrong, but I'm going to show you I'm wrong. Not just with my mouth, but maybe with my money. Maybe I'm going to bless you. Maybe I'm going to write you a card and put something in there for you. Let you know I'm sorry. That kind of attitude. These people were revealed. And I imagine if Jesus came to me, there would be a revealing, a light shown in me too. Oh, man. Do I fear humans more than God? It's a big question. Do I fear humans more than God? Obviously, when we look at our positions of power all over the world, we see a lot of fear of human beings. I'm going to cover up this. I'm going to cover up that. I'm going to make sure this is covered up. I'm going to make sure that's covered up. Why? Because I don't want no one to know what I've done. Instead of letting people know where you fail too. And how to make it right. Man, it's tough. I mean, Jesus really does come to seek and save that which is lost. Lost. We are lost. And so Jesus puts the onus of what is happening to him, and what's going to happen to him, and what happened to the prophets before Jesus on Israel. And they have rejected the harshest words that go towards Israel are from the deity. I'll say that one more time. The harshest words against Israel, the critique of Israel, the Jews, come from the deity in the Old Testament. And then when God is on the scene, he does the same exact thing. So just as Yahweh speaks through Isaiah to the people, just as he speaks through Jeremiah, just as he speaks through Obadiah, just as he speaks through Hosea, just as he speaks through Micah, etc., 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 a critique of Israel, a judgment and a discipline. Jesus does that now. And he speaks in the same manner. Woo! And they got it. And that's why they equated him to be God. That's why they said he was blasphemous, claiming himself to be God. They understood what he was doing. Did Jesus claim to be God? Every time. Later, the leaders sent some Pharisees and supporters to Herod to trap Jesus into saying something for which he could be arrested. Hey, let's trap Jesus, get him in jail, right? Maybe he'll say something that'll be illegal, You can't just have free speech because, hey, that's not good. We got to monitor that speech, because what if you say something that's kind of misinformation? Misinformation to whom? To that power crew over there. It's funny how I watched a speech the other day of a politician talk about oligarchy. I think I mentioned it yesterday too, about the current system, the current people in government are an oligarchy, and yet the previous people that were in leadership in this country literally censored people's speech all the time. They were literally in cahoots with the social media companies to pull people's free speech. and this is people that are smart people. It's not just the whack jobs out there that are saying all kinds of stuff, but this is people that were professors at universities that were saying, wait, let's hold on, there's other information out there, blah 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 blah. Those things were pulled, right? Maybe you could say something that we can arrest you on. That sounds pretty oligarchy like, but hey, we forgot about that. It's amazing. If there's anything politics shows us, is we are lost. Unbelievably lost, fickle. Wow. Just absolutely a mess. If you ever want to find out how much of a mess you are, just put on some politicians and just go from there. And it says, teacher, they said, we know how honest you are. Oh, you're honest. You are impartial and don't play favorites. You don't show any favoritism. Do I show favoritism? Am I honest? Do I show favoritism? Big question. I bet you do. And I bet I do too. Do I see people across the board in the same way? Or do I favor people? You teach the way of God truthfully. That's another big one. Do I teach the word of God truthfully? Now tell us, is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay them or shouldn't we? Let's get you to say something that Rome doesn't like. And if we can get you to say something that Rome doesn't like, then Rome is on the hook. We won't be the people that, killed the chief cornerstone. Maybe Rome will do it. That kind of idea. Hey, I'm not going to kill him, but you know what? If I can get him killed by another crew, then the news will report that they killed him, and I will get off the hook, and no one will know it really was me behind the whole ordeal, right? This is like conspiracy theory, right? Like, it's not really what you think it is. There is the man behind the curtain, right? The Wizard of Oz kind of thing. And hey, this is how it works. This is how people in power stay in power. They have other people do their bidding. Now, this is not something new. This is something that if you're around street gangs, or I'm sure the mob was like this back in the day, where it's like, did Al Capone do all the killing? I would imagine not. I would imagine Al had other people that he utilized to do the dirty work. You kind of get that. And so they're going to try to trick Jesus, get him caught, get him killed, but by the Romans. And Jesus saw through their hypocrisy and said, "Why are you trying to trap me? Show me a Roman coin, I tell you." When they handed it to him, he asked, whose picture is titled and title are stamped on it? Okay, whose title, whose picture is on the coin? It's kind of neat that we've been doing this image and title thing on coins for quite a long period of time, right? This is 2,000 years ago. And they had coins with a title and with stamps, with pictures on it. That's what we have too. Caesar's, they replied. Well then, Jesus said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give to God what belongs to God. Wow. Jesus says something very cool, and they were completely amazed. They were blown away by it. Jesus answers the question, but he answers it in a way that is honest, right? It shows no partiality, and it is true. He does it in everything that they knew about Jesus. Jesus answers in a way that fulfills those things. They said, hey, Jesus, you're an honest guy. Jesus gives an honest answer. Hey, whose coin is it? No, it's Caesar's. Well, then render to things Caesar, render to God the things are God's. Great. So he was honest with that. He didn't show any partiality. He didn't choose sides. He said, hey, there's something you have to give to Caesar, do it. And you know what? There's things you got to give to God, give it to God. And then, he was truthful in that way. And that is, there's a truism here. And that is, it's true that you should render to God the things that are God's, and you need to render to people the things that are theirs too. And, we all need to have submission on multiple levels. We submit not only to God, but we also need a relative submission to human beings. Man, that's cool. Answering people in such a wise way. I mean, I again find it fascinating that Jesus is so good and so amazing to be able to answer people in these kind of ways, an honest way, a way that doesn't show favoritism, and a way that holds to the truth. Can I work on that in my life today? Being honest, not showing favoritism, and being truthful in my answers. Man, those are three quality, home run things to work on for sure. So then Jesus was approached by some Sadducees. You see him getting tested, right? The lamb that is being tested. Now the Sadducees, other religious leaders who say there is no resurrection from the dead, so they have a little theological question. They pose this question, Teacher, Moses gave us a law that if a man dies leaving a wife without children, his brother should marry the widow and have a child who will carry on his brother's name. Well, suppose there were 7 brothers. The oldest one married and then died without children. So the second brother married the widow, and he also died without children. Then the third brother married her, and this continued with all seven of them, and still there were no children. Last of all, the woman also died. So tell us, whose life will she be in the resurrection? For all 7 were married to her. Ha, ha, ha. How are you going to answer this theological question, you smarty pants, right? I mean, how is she going to be married to all 7 in heaven? I mean, this sounds so weird, right? I mean, all of them died. All the husbands died. Now, was this question really sincere? I mean, this is a crazy situation. One brother dies, another brother dies. What if there was 20 brothers? The 19th dies, I mean, what if the story had 100 brothers, or like Gideon, 70 sons, and they, I mean, this is weird, right? Is it, the 65th husband died, the 66th husband died, Jesus, and then the 67th died. I mean, does this sound really sincere? But Jesus answers it. The skeptic, the person who just wants to, knock you over. Did people want to knock Jesus over? Yeah, they want to kill him. They want to get him caught. They were hoping the Romans would catch him in something that they asked the question, but the Romans find something that he says illegal so they could kill him. They didn't seem too sincere. If they were sincere in anything, they were sincerely wanting him dead. They didn't have a really good heart towards Jesus. But yet, Jesus answers the question. I got to be careful when I am saying, well, you can come to me, but you can only come to me with this. You can only come to me with this question. Hey, maybe I need to allow people to be people. And if they ain't going to ask a question and they're not sincere, they're going to mock, or they're going to laugh, or they're going to joke, or they're going to put in their things, or they're going to be rude, or they're going to be crude, or they're going to be just irrational, right? Oh, another man, brother marries her and he dies, and another one dies, and another one dies. It gets all crazy like this. Maybe I need to just respond like Jesus, like in a wise way, not to get ruffled and be like, man, you're just saying that because you're trying to get me all blah, blah, blah. And man, that story makes no sense. And da, 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 da. Maybe I just need to answer the question just in a heartfelt way and just move on. So Jesus says, your mistake is that you don't know the scriptures and you don't know the power of God. You're not really trusting in the power of God. Do you know the power of God is to raise you from the dead? Those that trust in the Lord will never die. Do you believe this? Do we hold on to life so much in this world, that we don't believe in the power of God in the afterlife? For the afterlife? That's why I love what Bob Marley's guitar player said years ago, Peter Tosh. Rest in peace, Peter. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. I don't know why. That's what he said. And it's so true, right? Everybody wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die. I don't know why. Meaning, if there's the power of God to raise our bodies to newness of life, and I believe that, then I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay with that bad news. Man, that's hard for us to think about, isn't it? Do I really believe in the power of God? Whew. You don't know the scriptures. These are the people that read the scriptures all the time, right? I mean, my friends out there, these are the people that read the scriptures all the time, and Jesus says you don't even know the scriptures. You can read the Bible and not even know it. Crazy. You can read the Bible and not realize that the God is the God of power. He spoke the world into existence. So Jesus says, for when the dead rise, they will neither marry nor be given in marriage. When there's the resurrection, there is no marriage going on. I don't know if that can be any clearer. In this respect, they will be like the angels in heaven. So in that respect, it sounds like the angels are not given in marriage, and neither are we in the resurrection. Meaning marriage has a unique place in the glorification of God in this time. God has a unique place for marriage in this time to glorify Him. In the resurrection, Jesus made it clear, there won't be marrying, anybody given in marriage, and that aspect will be like the angels. But now, as whether the dead will be raised, haven't you ever read about this in the writings of Moses, in the story of the burning bush? Long after Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had died, God said to Moses, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is the God of the living, not the dead. You have made a serious error. So serious of an error that it led to them not trusting and believing in the power of God. Even though they read that passage that says, back in Exodus, that God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they never looked at it as that he presently is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And what did that mean? What did that infer? That Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were presently in the presence of God, or presently known by God. That God is the God of Abraham. He still is the God of Abraham, meaning Abraham is not extinct. Isaac is not extinct. It's not, I was the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob because they lived so long ago, but now they're dead. I am the God, presently am the God. Even though their bodies were dead on the planet, the declaration is that they are in the conscious of God, and God sees them clearly at the moment of Moses. They are, he is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they missed that. They read that, but they missed what it meant. And because of that, they had a wrong idea in their theological thinking, and that had to do with the resurrection. The Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection. So what did they want to do? Mock it, make fun of it, joke about it, make up interesting stories to make it seem so foolish. Like they were so smart, like they really knew the scriptures. Oh man, there's no resurrection. Oh, check this out. Oh, we're going to show Jesus how foolish this resurrection thing is. Haha. There's a bunch of brothers, and one of them's married to a woman and he dies, and then another one. You see how foolish they are? It's crazy. But Jesus still answers. So I think I get out of that today, I need to answer people. I don't know what their motivations are. They might just want me killed. Or they might theologically think my position's weak and lame, and they might try to make a fool out of me. And they come at me. But it is my opportunity to answer them wisely. Do I answer people wisely, no matter what their motivation is when they talk to me? It's one thing. The other thing is, do I understand the scriptures correctly? Do I see the power of God in them? Do I trust that God is a God of power? Dunamis, that's the Greek word in the New Testament. Dunamis, dynamite. God is powerful. Do I believe in Jesus' words that he who believes in me will never die? Do I really want to be in heaven, but I don't really want to go through the valley of the shadow of death? You know, even though the Bible says, blessed is in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. Do I really want to go through that bodily shedding? Do I really trust that God is able to care for me? Really? Ooh, God help me. I believe, but what? Help my unbelief. Oh, speak to me, God. Give me faith to trust you. Humble me. Notice these religious leaders were anything but humble. May we walk humbly today, for sure. So what a great part 1 to Mark 12, Jesus being tested. Whew. We see a lot of good stuff there. So we'll talk to you guys later, okay? Catch you all later. And we'll, Lord willing, see you tomorrow. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.